It's big. It looks like it can be very big, game-changing big. What is Tony Khan and All Elite Wrestling's big announcement? And what does it mean for the wrestling landscape moving forward? Yes, another game changer, and I'm not referencing GCW. What is the fate of several WWE superstars who do not have a slot at this year's WrestleMania? The biggest wrestling of the show could be missing some big names. Plus, big news about Nia Jax, some things that she's been up to since leaving WWE, and even more news involving all that tribalism. MJF, could he be the hottest free agent, not of 2022 or 2023, but of 2024? What am I talking about? 2020, 2020 something? Well, it doesn't matter. Why don't you just drop 20 likes yourself on this video? It's Sports Gear Wrestling, and we're live, baby, live.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. You're sharing the link, you stink, all right? If you haven't done it, share that link, all right? I don't see enough likes in this video. I'm upset. I think you know better. I think you know better to do that, all right? All right, I know the diehards are watching. I know the watch out kids are there yelling, watch out, watch out, watch out in the chat. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to bring it to the max. The HBO Max? Oh, yeah, we're going to go there, all right? Get ready for some subscription fees, baby. Jeremy Bennett is with me. I'm Kev Kelm. This is Sports Gear Wrestling Top Story. We do it every weekday, right around 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern. And, of course, you can get this on demand whenever you want on our YouTube, our Facebook, and in your ears on our podcast feed. So much content to devour. Let's jump right into our leadoff story here, Jeremy. Are we going to see a major move by All Elite Wrestling tonight? This has been teased. Tony Khan did the press media call today for the upcoming All Elite Wrestling Revolution pay-per-view this weekend. It's going to be this Sunday. You know, a lot to say about the Cody situation. But, they know how to maneuver. Change the narrative. Got a big announcement. Tony Khan has a big announcement, and he teases big announcements all the time. But it looks like some dots are coming together for several different sources here that AEW is going to make a major media deal announcement possibly tonight. That is the indication, no exact confirmation. Andrew Zarin reporting that there is indeed a deal that would extend All Elite Wrestling's conversations with Warner Media, who they already have their major media deal with, their most profitable deal, by the way. And the most profitable thing they have that's publicly known, even though they're a private company, is their television rights deal with Warner, which has them on TBS and has had them on TNT and various other digital things, right? So that would extend their deal beyond that. Warner has one of the hottest streaming services in the world. Not the biggest, but one of the hottest, with HBO Max, home of hit shows like Peacemaker with John Cena and Euphoria. Plus, it's HBO. It's not television, Jeremy. It's HBO.
No, exactly.
So a new streaming service there. I have HBO Max. It's quite the service here. And potentially, AEW could be heading there. Now, let's compound this with some other information that's completely outside of the world of wrestling. If you have HBO, you're like, well, there's nothing on demand on this. Like, everything on it is on demand. I'm sorry, there's nothing live. There's no live sports on HBO Max. It's not.
Or are there?
Or are there? So some people who are just in the wrestling bubble are like, well, there's no live sports. Like, am I just going to get on-demand stuff on AEW, which would still be really great. On-demand AEW on HBO Max. Well, that'd still be great, right? This is compounded by news coming out yesterday in the world of sports, because HBO Max and Warner Media, part of that deal, along with TNT and TBS, are getting the rights to the U.S. men's soccer games and women's soccer games outside of the World Cup starting in 2023. And
live streamed.
And those will be live streamed. You'll be able to get them on traditional cable and on HBO Max at the same time. All right, that's what is stated here in several different reports broken by The Athletic. So HBO Max will indeed have live elements to it. So it's there, right? And here we are. Now, Tony Khan was nice about talking about that, but wouldn't confirm it in the media call today. It seems like that's where this is going. This is something that I've been saying they got to do. This would be great. This would be the thing for them to do. What do you think of this? This is a big deal for them.
I tell you what, if Tony Khan, obviously this is a big deal. Tony does announce that he has big things all the time, but this is only going to be the second time he's ever been on camera on AEW. The first time was when Brody Lee died. So this is a big deal. If Andrew Zarian's report is right, it's going to be a deal with HBO Max. Now we learn there's a live stream component that's going to be added to HBO Max, and then what also Andrew said, an international pro wrestling promotions catalog, which immediately screams Ring of Honor because it's been highly rumored that they've been shopping their library. It's also been rumored that they've been shopping the company. Upwards of 40 to 50 million is what some people are saying. Is that possible? Maybe. But if we just go by Andrew Zarian's report, it sounds like an HBO Max deal and then possibly a Ring of Honor deal. Then you go and wonder, well, why is he announcing it now? 4 days before the pay-per-view.
Yeah, that would be an odd time to announce it.
Revolution might be on HBO Max, kids. Maybe.
The thing is, if it was on HBO Max, I think we would have known about it a lot sooner than just 3 days before the pay-per-view.
Tell you what, though, how many people are going to run to subscribe to HBO Max if
True.
he announces that tonight, though?
True. You're 100% right. But I just think there'd be more of like a ramp up than less than
It may not be.
Less
It may
than a
not be
couple
till.
days.
It may not be till Double or Nothing.
It may not be. It may not be till Double or Nothing. But
he chose the Go Home show though to do it. So maybe it is this Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. When do you announce it? Right. I'm not saying I have a better answer for that, but it's just it's definitely an odd time to make that announcement when you're going to ask people this weekend. Well, pay $50 a pop for this show, and then moving forward, it's going to be less. You know what I mean? So they're seems like when WWE moved everyone into the WWE network, it was not just like, hey, this is coming in a while. We knew it was coming for a long time. They made sure the process was there. They made sure they had a pay-per-view on there before they did WrestleMania first. There was a bunch of hoops they had to get through because they were launching their own service, by the way. Yeah. I don't think with HBO Max, hopefully, you've had hiccups with WWE on Peacock, right? Yeah. You're working with another partner. Are you going to have those same problems with HBO Max? Who knows? We don't know that. And so it'll be interesting to see how these things play out here. Let's see what the fans are saying
and HBO Max is now set up like Peacock, 2 tiers. You have a ad tier at $9.99 a month, and you have an ad-free tier at $14.99 a month. So you can get in as low as $9.99 a month with HBO Max. So.
Of course, there's plenty of things on HBO Max besides wrestling that are fun here. Mr. James Espanto Fernando Tagay says, I got HBO Max. Peacemaker is a fantastic show. Yes, I'm a couple episodes into it. It is a fun show.
It is.
Jason Campbell not liking it. He says HBO Max costs way too much. You can forget about it.
Like I said, you can get it for $9.99 or $14.99. So.
Yeah. So I mean, like if you're just getting if you just want the pay-per-view, that's kind of the price point isn't too bad. And you subscribe and unsubscribe. A lot of people do that. So there you go. That is called the churn. That's the digital churn now.
Well, in regards to this comment, no, there are things called NDAs. So that's kind of why Tony hasn't said anything yet.
Yes.
So yeah, that's not necessarily true there, David.
Yeah, it's not necessarily true. And also they respect the idea of a social media boom. What's going to be a bigger story? Him saying it or us breaking it here?
Tell you what, though, I mean, if it is this Sunday, man, that's going to drive so many new subscribers just right there. I mean, we reported it earlier this month. The last pay-per-view drug in 200,000 buys, which is a tremendous amount when you look at it, because WWE kind of in their late stages of their pay-per-view model, or they getting about 150, 125 around there, I think, for pay-per-view buys.
No, it depends on the show. They were getting more.
Well, obviously,
if you're talking
WrestleMania is different,
yeah, but I mean, there was other shows where they were getting more. It varied. Another thing worth noting is AEW is only doing 4 pay-per-views a year. Like that's another thing to think about here. They're only doing 4 pay-per-views a year. How does this affect only pay-per-view? Is Dynamite going to be on there if it's on there? And also, I mean, like, think about this. You brought up 200,000 people bought the pay-per-view at $50 a pop, right? The reported active subscriber count through a couple of different sources has HBO Max between 17 to 20 million people. All right, 41 million people in the United States are subscribers. Okay, Warner Brothers overall revenue declined 21%. The company hopes to reach 51 million to 55 million by 2025. This is from Sanel News, which is pretty solid, and they report on different deals with international media rights. So that's just in the United States. So you're going to go from a couple 100,000 people getting this show to possibly millions. This is a huge deal. If anyone is overlooking this and saying this isn't a big story, you got to pay attention to those numbers.
Yeah.
Like, put this into perspective. Like, there was 1 to 2 million people subscribing to the WWE Network in the United States, or even internationally at some point, depending on what numbers you were reporting there. That was the number we heard, right, from multiple sources. Subscribing to the WWE Network as its own standalone thing. It's still available to hundreds, if not millions, of people outside of the United States. But on Peacock, it's reaching a lot more people. There's a lot more people watching WWE pay-per-views because it's through a subscription model that is pretty accessible, like Peacock, that is tied to a lot of different things. A lot more people have watched WWE pay-per-views, premium live events in the last few years than have ever watched them. And no matter how hard that is for you to process, that is 100% true and not hard to believe when you consider how many people have Peacock. And it's a pretty accessible thing, and the price point's good, and you get a lot of other stuff with it. So remember what the rub is. AEW is going to get the rub from their brand right next to DC Superheroes, their brand right next to Blockbuster Movies' first run. There's going to be a new Batman movie on this thing in like a few months.
Actually,
and your logo's going to be right next to it.
April.
So,
45 days after release is when the
how cool
Batman's
is that?
out.
If I just subscribe to HBO Max, I pull it up, I get to watch some AEW and the new Batman movie.
Word is that thing's going to pull
$15 a month.
Word is that thing is going to pull in close to $250 million worldwide opening week.
Yeah, and that's coming out this weekend. So I mean,
it's already out. Yeah.
Yeah. So think of the rub there. Think of the rub here.
I'm going to go see it on Sunday.
Talking subscriptions here. Christopher on Cooper says, I got Peacock through my TV subscription. Now I'm going to have to pay for HBO Max. Well, true. I mean, that is something where people start to pick and choose what they have. I have a lot of subscription things. Am I going to drop this one this month? Is there some stuff I want to keep there? That's part of the deal. Is it still going to be another price point that fans simply don't want to pay?
Yeah.
David with a question here. Is HBO going to hit Is HBO going to hit AEW's millennial viewership with steroids? For sure. Guys, the age of Kevin, Jeremy, I grew up in HBO. It's still on many of our TVs. You're absolutely true. Another thing worth noting is, Euphoria is on there. And Euphoria, if you talk to anyone who's under the age of 25, is a show you have to watch or at least follow. Yeah. It's one of the hottest television shows in terms of people talking about it. Yeah. And it's on a subscription service.
Exactly.
And it only comes out once in a while. It only comes out every week in a while.
I mean,
go ahead.
Ozark's another example.
Yep.
Peacemaker's another example. Peacemaker was highly regarded now that people have got into it. I mean, there are many examples of highly regarded shows that are behind a subscription model.
Sean Crankwright saying, I live in Canada. Is it going to be here for HBO Max? I believe so.
I think HBO. I don't know.
I don't know. But another thing that's worth noting, we can't confirm to you that this is it, but it looks like that is it. Okay. So everything we're doing is purely speculative. We're just kind of connecting some dots for you in terms of other things going on in the media world. It does seem like live sports is going to be on HBO Max. All Elite already has a deal with Warner for television. Now let's clip that deal up to premium live events. Let's really make this a big thing. And that's the same track record that WWE went. And if you're HBO Max, you look at the benefit. The biggest thing that Peacock got right away outside of Premier League football and The Office was WWE when they launched this thing. So now they want their WWE, and they already have it.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because like Peacock is really lags behind in terms of overall subscriber numbers compared to HBO Max and compared to the juggernaut is Disney Plus. If we're not talking Netflix here, if we're just talking about television subscription models, I think if I remember right, Peacock is still in the single digits in millions of subscribers. They're not even close to compared to HBO and Disney. So, but the majority of people that have it are watching it for WWE.
Yeah. So I mean, that's worth noting. So
that's where this HBO Max thing is. I think they have at least 5 to 6 times the amount of subscribers that Peacock does. So that's another thing that's huge for AEW at this point.
Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, man. And it's a churn too. It's also Well, I mentioned that people go in and out of the thing.
Yeah.
This is a crazy question. Has AEW maybe purchased WWE? No, Hayden. No, that has not happened. I don't mind telling you that is not happening here. I don't think that's the case.
No.
So other people asking, is it available in Australia? I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I
Is
do
Peacock
know
available in Canada? I thought I had a buddy in Canada. I thought maybe he was still doing WWE Network, but I don't know.
they still have a WWE network there, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
As I checked.
yeah. So this may only apply to the United States only.
Here's one. Always smoking 420 Pesci. Texans. Says, my opinion is I really don't have one. I'm uneducated. 420 on my brain. All right, that's fine, buddy. Tom McDonald.
Speaking of 420, of all nights, 420, Snoop Dogg is performing a concert here in Lincoln, Nebraska on 420. What are the pretty crazy.
There you go. Tom McDonald, HBO Max will be to AEW what Peacock is to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, you know.
I mean, it's gonna put new eyes on the product. That's for damn sure.
This is a bigger deal for All Elite Wrestling than I think it is for HBO Max. Okay, and
yeah,
I think
that is clear because
and that is not a shot at AEW. This is the rub for this is to All Elite Wrestling, like. Yeah. And if they can get a couple 100,000 people to jump on it because they just want to watch their live wrestling pay-per-view every month, or mind you, not every month too. And that's another thing is it worth it for HBO Max to go with All Elite Wrestling if we're not going to get a pay-per-view every month, or we're not going to get a special every month?
Or are we? I mean, they could go the Impact Wrestling model and give you these monthly Impact Plus shows where
that's a pay-per-view every month.
Where you got your major $40 pay-per-views every quarter, which are still on pay-per-view, I still believe too. But you still get your little lesser shows, but only on Impact Plus, where you got to pay the $8 a month. So they could go that route now with this deal.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. And Johan Penna saying, "Can Disney Plus please get WWE because Peacock is atrocious?" I don't think Peacock is that bad. I just want the rewind.
I was so surprised when I saw like this graphic of subscriber numbers, and I was so surprised to see Peacock so low in terms of total subscribers.
I know, but another thing with those subscriber numbers is those numbers are so disputable because is that number just people that paid specifically for Peacock, or does that number include the people that are watching it that just have it through their cable system? Yeah. So that's I mean, if you don't have that, then that number is like off by.
I want to think that graphic was paid subscriptions, but
yeah. So
this was months ago since I saw it.
So if it's paid subscriptions, to be clear, guys, Peacock is owned by NBC Universal. They are also owned by Xfinity, which is one of the biggest subscription traditional TV companies in the country. They own.
In regards to the video game, nothing really has been announced yet. Obviously, they want to make sure.
You're talking about the AEW video game?
Yeah, that. He did talk about that today in the press conference. No time frames or anything yet. Nothing really to share on that, Mark. They're just wanting to make sure they get things right and not pull a WWE 2K20.
And then everyone has to get into the tribalism thing. Ricky Costello, Peacock lost $1 billion last year. Yeah. How much money did Netflix spend last year on content? Probably more, right? It's part of doing the business here, guys, and they're spending more.
And they piss off subscribers left and right.
Yeah, Netflix pisses off people left and right with
canceling shows after one season.
And all that different stuff. So, and it's also worth noting, it's a game, guys. They're all fighting for money, and I do think the subscription model is the way things are going. With wrestling fans, I think a majority of them would rather go to a subscription model than do the traditional pay-per-view thing. Though you have a lot of people still doing great money on pay-per-view. Those Triller fights make money on pay-per-view. Floyd Mayweather, if he wants to have another big boxing match, he does it on pay-per-view, makes a ton of money. Like
I said, the AEW pay-per-views exceeded a lot of your non big 4, big 5 WWE pay-per-views just prior to the network. Those WWE pay-per-views were pulling in the 100 to 150 buy range. And so the fact that AEW is exceeding that in year 3 on a pay-per-view model where most of the wrestling public is not used to that model anymore, because like Ring of Honor got away from it, Impact Wrestling got away from it. Yet AEW went back to that old model and has, pulled in $10 million in revenue on that last pay-per-view. So
Yeah, it's interesting,
Yeah.
and it's certainly going to play out in a whole bunch of different ways. Let's talk about some players for WrestleMania. We are not too far away from the biggest show of the year, and some interesting names could be off the card. This comes from PWInsider. What is the latest, Jeremy?
The latest here from PWInsider today from Mike Johnson says he specifically listed the three ladies that are in the graphic: Alexa Bliss, Bayley, and Asuka. For Alexa Bliss, oddly enough, she just returns to TV. We are told, according to Mike Johnson, they are told that what is next for her will likely not happen until after WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of interesting that they brought her back for the Chamber and are not going to do anything with her until after WrestleMania. Bayley, current plan is for her to return to TV after WrestleMania. So expect Bayley probably on the Raw after WrestleMania. That's always the biggest Raw of the year. So I would expect a Bayley return on that night and expect a gigantic pop. Asuka waiting and ready to return once WWE has a plan in place for her. She is ready to go, just waiting for creative to find a slot for her. And that's going to be, you get, if you could, you might have that women's battle royal, maybe is a good, but I mean, do you bring Asuka back for that? I mean, I don't know. Do you make the women's tag match multi-team? A lot of people are getting that feeling that it might be a multi-team thing. So maybe
get more people on the show.
Maybe Asuka and hell, you call up Io Shirai, or you see if Kairi Sane wants to come back or something like that. It'd be interesting to see. It's kind of odd that they have nothing for Asuka yet, but at the same time, there's proof. There's nothing for Alexa Bliss right now either, even though she just returned. So,
and you did a lot of vignettes with her about the character kind of changing back to a more steady hand, a less unhinged character. I things could change. I know this sounds crazy because everyone's like, "Oh, WrestleMania, you should know what the card is months and months ahead of time," and all. But yeah, you're thinking of it from the 1990s when you only had 4 pay-per-views a year. It isn't that way anymore. It doesn't work that way anymore. Fans don't process it that way anymore. Why are you asking me to read a book that I have to go get from the library when I can order it online and read it digitally and it's there and it's boom? It's a faster turnover. Alexa Bliss and all of these names could be added to the WrestleMania card if they wanted to, and that is the pace of things now. So I would say there's still a chance for these people to be on the card. But we do get into this tight time frame where people start to think about, is my fave going to be on the show? Are my faves going to be on the show? How many of my faves are going to be on the show? And so, and this isn't just for the women, these noteworthy, these women, but you do have to save some stuff after WrestleMania. You do have to save some big things.
Semi-breaking news, but this is going to be a little later on tonight. Sean Ross Sapp is going to have some information regarding the Vince McMahon interview with Pat McAfee. So stay tuned.
That streams tomorrow.
Yep, and they're live. That show's live, ain't it?
Yeah, they could tape it. Who knows?
No, I mean the Pat McAfee show is usually live.
The show is live, but if they wanted to air a taped interview in a live stream, they can. There's nothing stopping them from
So on the Fightful Select report, it says, while we've heard within WWE that elements of the interview may be used to promote WrestleMania, it was stressed to us that it was scheduled to be a real interview. And of course, Vince has not done a full on-camera interview since he was on Stone Cold's podcast back in 2014. So this may not be a kayfabe setup match type of deal. Who knows?
Does it need to be?
No, it doesn't. I don't want it to be either. Yeah. So Fightful Select should have all that. We got more from Fightful Select here. The latest on Asuka. Let's see. I'm gonna see if there's anything else more than what Mike Johnson had said. One WWE source is optimistic that around spring for Asuka. So she is still listed on inactive lists, which is interesting because Xavier Woods has been removed. We still haven't seen him yet on TV. So it looks like she's still on the inactive list and around spring. So they may not bring her back until after WrestleMania 2. At this point, if you don't have a story and we're 5 weeks out from WrestleMania, why not just hold her off until you put Bayley out the Raw after WrestleMania, and then you put Asuka out the SmackDown after WrestleMania,
or vice versa. And And also, what's to say they don't show up at a Mania? You have 2 nights of Mania. You have a lot of real estate to work with on both those shows. If you want to have a moment, that could be a moment. And we also haven't gotten that shoe dropping with Cody Rhodes, though. He hasn't confirmed he's going anywhere.
So there's conflicting reports of PWInsider. PWInsider said February return. Fightful has learned that the timetable they were given was different, and they were just said, quote, unquote, around spring for Asuka. So, all right. Should we roll on to number 3?
Roll on to number 3. Lay it on me.
All right. Nia Jax recently was talking to basically on Twitter to some fans, and responded to one. It says somebody said, "We need you back in the WWE so you and Doudrop can win the tag team titles."
Okay.
And,
fantasy booking. Can you confirm my fantasy booking, please?
Yeah, and well, Nia Jax did. She confirmed that fantasy booking, saying, "LOL, no thank you. I get calls daily on how everyone is miserable there."
I don't know what to say about that,
I don't know what to say about
I mean, it's all on the surface. It's somebody lost their gig. They were really passionate about it, and they're upset about it. I don't know. I don't think there's much more to read into it than that. I don't even know how to analyze it beyond that.
Yeah.
To say everyone's upset there.
Everyone is miserable.
Everyone is upset. Every single person.
I bet Roman Reigns ain't miserable.
But they're all upset. They're all upset.
I bet Brock Lesnar's not miserable.
No, they're all upset.
Oh, okay.
They're all upset. Everyone is angry and mad, and it doesn't matter that they're going to be wrestling in a football stadium filled with screaming fans in a month. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter they're on television every week in front of millions of people. Doesn't matter that new people are getting opportunities. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. They're all upset. Every single one of them are upset.
Yep, everyone.
Do you believe that?
Not everyone. That's a little
exactly.
That's a little hyperbole.
That's the part of me that it's like, I could see some people being upset.
WWE does like to act in hyperbole a lot, but no, not everyone is. But I bet a lot of people, I bet a good majority are, though. I mean, that.
I don't know. No, I don't. I just don't. Not this time of year. Not when there's a show that big or these bigger shows come up. And I can say that from, talking to people that work there. But there is a sense of like, you're going to be upset if you don't make that show, right? That's going to be a bummer. And there's plenty of people that aren't going to make the cut for WrestleMania because that's just the way it is. Yeah. Some people get to be on the big shows and some people don't, and that isn't defending the company. That's just a matter of competition, I bet there's plenty of people in AEW Dark that aren't too happy they aren't going to be on Revolution, right? Does that mean everyone there is upset? No. So it's a fair comparison. Wonder if she's going to wrestle again. She seems like she's somebody that's not intrigued by the concept of wrestling anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get that impression. So little bits and pieces.
I can see her landing in an Impact if she does. I would believe that Impact would probably be a good place in the Knockouts division.
What if she showed up in AEW? They boo out of the building. It's a smart mark crowd, man. They would just go off. They would just go off big time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if AEW would be a good fit for her. So
MJF continues to have fuel to the fire regarding the bidding war of 2024. Of course, that is when his contract comes up. He's doing barn burner business for AEW. He's cutting some of the most salacious promos in all of wrestling right now, and he's set to face CM Punk in a dog collar match this weekend on pay-per-view. So he is stirring the pot once again, knows what he's doing. What's he up to?
MJF joined Wrestling with Freddie, former creative member and, of course, famous actor Freddie Prinze Jr. He had discussed the bidding war of 2024. And MJF said, there's talk of a bidding war, and these Fox execs, they're thirsty for daddy. I mean, they want a piece of me, but bad. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm not interested. I like money. I think if there's one thing that I love more than gold, it's green, Fred. And I'm gonna go where I'm offered the most. By the time I turn 35, though, I'm probably going to be well and done with wrestling. I will probably have achieved everything that I could possibly do in pro wrestling. And by that time, I imagine you're going to see me on billboards for movies and TV shows. I'm sure by the time 2024 rolls around, you will see people that were working in AEW already potentially making the jump to WWE. But what you won't see is the amount of money being thrown around When I tell you, and this is a straight fact, I know for a fact when 2024 rolls around, we're talking millions of dollars here. I know for a fact that whoever owns WWE by then, we don't know, is going to be willing to pay Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Interesting. Max is just playing the character, so you never really catch him out of character.
No.
And so, but the idea that he would say he's done with wrestling by the time he's 35 is tremendous. I don't know about that. And who knows? You never know. Some people like, hey, when was The Rock was out of it at some point before he was 40, right? So he was out of the business before he was even 40. And did other things. Mind you, he comes back to it when he can. But could MJF be as big as that guy? Could he transition out of wrestling? Who knows? Or just some people that lose their passion for it and get out of it. Just crazy for him to say he's gonna be out of wrestling by the time he's 35. Is WWE in his future? WWE's gonna make a play. They have to, and he's alluding to it. It'd be stupid not to. The guy is so talented, and he gets tremendous levels of nuclear lava hot heat. And it is very hard to come by and can really thread the needle in a story in a very, very special way. Also, it's worth noting he's not a champion in AEW, right? Not a champion, but he's as established and as big as some of the biggest names in that company right now. Outside of like your Daniel Bryan or your CM Punk or your Sting, MJF is on that list. You want to talk about the top 10 guys in the company in terms of star power and draw and what they can do. He's on that list. He's on that list. Yeah. And he's not far out of, if he's not in the top 5, he's right near it.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you want him? That's part of the business now. This is what you want. You want to open up the business. You want to change the wrestling business. This is part of it. Is somebody else wants you and somebody else is going to make an offer to get you here.
I've said it on this show many times. MJF is going to have a run in WWE. I don't think it's going to be in 2024. I think he is going to re-sign with AEW one more term and then probably go to WWE. But I think eventually he's going to have a run in WWE.
It's I don't know. Crazy things have happened. We have people talking about, Cody leaving AEW. Would you have ever expected that to happen? And let alone him go back to WWE? So, I mean, it would surprise me if he went back to WWE, but it would also not surprise me a whole lot because it's like, he's a really, really talented guy. He's young. He can do some tremendous things. He can do a lot of crazy stuff. And
WWE could just be blowing smoke up our ass with all these teases and stuff.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. And why can't they? That's what everyone's doing now, right?
Like Cody said to Sean Ross Sapp, right now I'm being full-time dad. So
yeah. So and why can't you? With the internet now, you have to work people like that. And I don't even think it's working people. That's protecting your business and protecting what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it probably popped it probably popped some ratings. People thinking, oh, he's going to show up on Raw or he's going to show up on SmackDown. Oh, you got this mystery challenger to AJ Styles, and you put it at the end of the show. It's going to be Cody Rhodes, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah. And now you leave them anticipating when he's going to show up.
Yep.
Right. So there you go. And look at Tony Khan. Didn't reveal his statement. Didn't reveal what this was. Gotta watch the show tonight. Because they fight for every viewer they can get, and they're still going up against NBA games and all that different stuff and fighting for demo numbers and
Matt Singer's coming back here next week.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to get on top of it here. If you haven't done so, go ahead and vote in the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards. You have until March 12th. And lucky people who vote will win a video gaming console, wrestling merchandise, and so much more. The biggest wrestling names in the business have chimed in. Eric Bischoff has chimed in on this. Renee Paquette, Rob Van Dam, Bill Apter, Booker T, and so many more. Go vote now. Sportskeeda.com/wrestling-awards. Sportskeeda.com/wrestling-awards. If you can go vote on each one of your browsers, you can go ahead and do that. Some interesting competition here for male wrestler of the year, female wrestler of the year, babyface of the year, heel wrestler of the year. MJF is doing quite well in the votes on that. Over 50,000 votes have been casted by fans just like you. And then you also get to see, what our panelists think. Those big names I just mentioned, who they actually voted for, that's out there in the open. Go watch the videos. They're up on our channel right now. And go get your votes in as well before March 12th. So if you haven't done it already, if you're just liking all the All Elite talk, go like the Sportskeeda Wrestling All Elite page on Facebook. All right. So that's just kind of All Elite focus. I don't want to see WWE stuff. I just want to see All Elite stuff. Don't worry, you vegans of wrestling. We have it for you. It's right there. We're going to clear up your wrestling diet there. Plenty coming on here in the world of wrestling leading up to WrestleMania. We're going to have a lot. So if you haven't done it already, subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling wherever you get it, on your YouTubes, on your podcasts. All right. All that good stuff. We will be in Dallas. I will be in Dallas. That'll be exciting. I'll be covering that. Jose will be there with me too. If you're going to be there, we want to film some content with you. So definitely give us a follow on the social media machines and do all that good stuff here. And before we get out of the show, the most important message we have to share with you before we sign off for the day. It's critical. It's critical. Clear your brain. Doesn't matter how many subscribers you have on a streaming service. Okay. Even if that streaming service is OnlyFans. And if you're doing that, God bless you.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? Pay your bills. Remember, when you're watching wrestling, what do they got to do, Jeremy?
You got to enjoy wrestling and yeah.
Talk to them.
Let me talk to you.
Talk to them.